Welcome, everyone. And here with me is Dave Warnock. Dave, how you doing?
Hey, Ethan, doing well.
So thanks for doing this.
Sure.
It's a pleasure to. I know we only got to meet for a brief few minutes, but it's definitely a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, my pleasure too.
So if you could, please, introduce yourself.
I'm Dave Warnock. I'm just run-of-the-mill ex-Christian atheist. No. Yeah, I was going to hang that there. And now I was an evangelical charismatic Christian for 3.5 decades and a pastor many of those years. I was in the clergy, professional Christian, if you will. And then about 10 years ago, I ran out of reasons to believe and got tired of making excuses for God's poor behavior. And so I exited Christianity and any kind of faith. I pretty much just adopted a humanistic, agnostic, atheist worldview. I didn't adopt it. It's just what I realized I actually was after I let go of Christianity. And then to round out the story, the summary of my life, I was diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, a terminal illness, a little over a year ago, February of last year. And so since then, in the past year, I've been doing a lot of talking about life and death in the face of a terminal illness, talking about my different views, my contrasting views from Christianity to atheism, and all the above. Prior to COVID, I was traveling a lot and speaking in meetings and doing different things like that. So that's my story.
Is that going to affect your travel for quite a while now, even after things open up?
Well, it just depends on how soon. I mean, you can travel. My girlfriend and I are traveling out west next week to see Grand Canyon and some places. But things are opening up in that regard. I think it will be a while before we have meetings where we have gatherings of people in a room, more than 10 or 20 people. So it's probably going to affect that through the rest of this year is my best guess.
Okay. Now, when you say you were a charismatic Christian, can you define that? What do you mean by charismatic?
Yeah, that's a broad term that a lot of people don't realize. They think, oh, you have a charismatic personality.
Right.
Well, I do, but that's not what it means. It's a term that was used back in the 70s and 80s to define Christians who came out of mainstream denominations like Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, Episcopalian, and were filled with the Holy Spirit or baptized with the Holy Spirit with speaking in tongues. That's the brand, if you will, of Christianity that I embraced, that I was in for all those years. So a charismatic Christian is similar to a Pentecostal Christian, except we like to think of ourselves as a bit more refined.
What do you mean by refined?
Well, we weren't rolling on the floor and handling snakes and jumping over pews.
Oh, okay.
We didn't believe in crazy shit. We just believed that a virgin gave birth to the Savior of the world and he rose from the dead and floated up into heaven. We didn't believe the crazy stuff, only the stuff that makes sense.
and it's true you used to speak in tongues?
Yes, I did.
That's I can't picture that. I really can't, but I'll have to go look at a video of you doing it.
Oh, well, I don't know if I have a video of it. I was doing a podcast last year and they kind of goaded me into doing it and I let her rip. So yeah.
Do you want to let it rip again?
No, I think we need to hold back on that. It kind of freaks people out, I think.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That makes sense. So to start out, what is dying out loud and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, dying out loud is it's kind of a phrase that we kind of happened upon organically early last year. When I got the diagnosis in February, I was working and just living my life in Nashville and enjoying life, just working in my business, in the insurance business. And then when I got the diagnosis, I very quickly made a decision to retire from work. I don't know how many people know much about it. You can Google it and find out all the stuff, but it's given a 3 to 5 year diagnosis. In other words, on average, you live 3 to 5 years from diagnosis. So I didn't know how long I had. I thought maybe I've got a year, 2 years, who knows? So I didn't want to spend that time just working and making money and then not being able to do things. So I decided I was going to quit work, move in with friends so that I wouldn't be by myself if things got bad, and travel and do things and be with people I wanted to be with. Well, that kind of morphed in about a month. Within a month or so, my friend Marie, who's become my manager and assistant, if you will.
Marie Delafont?
Yeah, Delafont. Yeah. She kind of handles all my stuff, and she just got to ask. She was asking me, "What do you want to do with your time? Would you want to talk about life and death and Christianity and atheism? We can see about getting you on some podcasts." And so one thing led to another, and I started doing all these podcasts and then traveling to speak, and we kind of started calling it Dying Out Loud. What it really should have been called, maybe more appropriately, although Dying Out Loud is, the phrase that I think it's on my shirt. Carpe the fucking diem, dying out loud. I don't know. I got shirts.
I love that. What would they do?
I got merch.
Where can that merch be found? It is in the description, but just so everyone can hear it, where can it be found?
It's the website is daveoutloud.com. The Facebook page is Dying Out Loud. So yeah, that just kind of, it's a term that we started using to define or describe the things I wanted to talk about, which primarily were about your life and death, looking at death from an atheist perspective, whereas I used to look at death and life from a Christian's perspective. And so it changed everything dramatically, but it's really more about living out loud and living your best life and carping the fucking diem and grabbing the moments. So it's more about life than it is about death, although we're talking about life and living life with death very much in the conversation and in the framework.
How would you say if you were still a Christian, how would you deal with this? What you're going through right now?
Well, it's the kind of Christianity that I lived in was involved a God who was very present. It wasn't just some deity that spun the earth off into space and then went on vacation. He was very active. Well, supposedly, he was supposed to be very active and involved and answered prayer. And you talk to him every day and you find out his will and you hear the word of the Lord. And we imagined ourselves in these conversations with God. Although looking back, I realized it was always a one-way conversation. It was like a
You're talking to yourself.
Yeah, a dysfunctional relationship between two people, and only one person is there. So we were talking to our imaginary friend, which would get you locked up in the real world. So
it won't get you locked up if you put the word God on it. But
that's
if
right.
the word God's not on it, then you would get locked up.
Exactly. Yeah. If I'm talking to my friend who's sitting over in the corner and his name's Billy, everybody's looking at me and thinking, okay, we need to get his meds. But if I'm talking to my friend over there in the corner and his name's Jesus, then I get a pass.
Right. It's so confusing.
Yes, it is. And throw in the Holy Spirit, which nobody's ever seen. But that's the difference between facing something like this as a Christian is that you have to factor God into it. So that was a long way around to the answer, which is it's much more complicated to deal with these things as a Christian than it is as an atheist, because you have to try to factor God in and figure out what's God saying, what's God doing, what's his will. Let's pray for you. Is he going to heal you? What's he want you to do? As an atheist, it's just, oh, this happened. Okay. Now what?
I like that. Oh, this happened. Now what? That is actually the most simple explanation for the difference between us. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, life is about adjusting to the things that it brings you, because we don't know what's bringing us. But if something comes along like an ALS diagnosis, it's all about how am I going to adjust to that news. That's pretty much it.
For clarity, as an atheist, are you one that believes in an afterlife, souls, or anything supernatural, or do you typically reject anything supernatural?
I don't see any reason to hold to an idea that there's a supernatural element to things. I don't see evidence for it. Yeah, people say, well, stuff happens that you can't explain.
Right.
So does that mean that you just make up an answer like there's a God or there's an angel or there's a demon? No, we don't get to do that.
No.
So when stuff happens and somebody says, what do you think about that? I say, well, I don't know, but I'm not going to jump to a conclusion that there's a God involved in it.
Right.
So no, I don't hold to any ideas about an afterlife or anything that's beyond what we can see and understand with our reason and our logic and our senses. I believe that's enough.
How would you say you're treated since coming out about this? How do Christians react to your message versus atheists?
Well, for a long time, when I deconverted 10 years ago and deconstructed my faith, I let my friends and family know that I no longer believed. I didn't want them to think I was something that I wasn't. So I just felt an obligation to be honest with the people in my life. And so that was pretty much a standard that went along for quite a few years. Everyone who knew me as an atheist. So by the time I got this diagnosis, many of my Christian friends and family had kind of moved into the background of my life. They didn't it wasn't like an abrupt end for a lot of them. Some of them it was, but over time you lose. If you don't have something in common with someone and some point of connection, over time that relationship will dissipate. Right. It's by the natural course of things. And so that had already happened when ALS came along. So many of them, Christians in my life, in my previous life, weren't in my life anymore. So they may have heard of it over the last year or so. And I have gotten a lot of messages since I've been more active. and more public than I've heard from former church members and from years ago who have heard me on a show, or someone said, hey, you wouldn't believe who I saw on a YouTube show or whatever. And so they've reached out, and so I've connected with them. But a lot of them have reached out as now they're atheists, or they don't longer
really
believe. Yeah, several of them I've reconnected with. Now there are a few Christians who've reached out from my past, and some of them have been a little more judgmental, maybe, or I've had some comments from some of them.
Let me ask you this. What keeps you have such a calm, I don't want to use that, I'm using the word aura, but very, very loosely. Like, what keeps you so calm? You just have like this relaxing demeanor. You're happy. Like, how do you do that?
Well, I would say pot, but I don't do a lot of that. I don't do a lot of that. I do some. Someone sent me some CBD THC oil. I do that every night. It's very relaxing, and it's supposed to there's a possibility that it'll help people with ALS.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot about motor neuron diseases that they don't know, and so there's conjecture that it might open things up or help in some ways. And so I'm open. When you get a disease there's no cure for, and there's no treatment, you're open to pretty much anything other than if it's too woo-woo, I'm not going to do that. But anyway.
So do you want me to send you some essential oils?
Yeah. No. You going to get me in the club?
Yeah. For the record, I don't use essential oils.
No. Yeah. Let's be clear on that. Right. I don't know. I'm not always calm. My girlfriend Bevan would tell you that. Yeah, he can get worked up. I'm passionate and I'm emotional, but for the most part, I don't have a lot of anxiety or fear. I just kind of never have. So that's I don't know why I'm so calm. I don't know why I have a calm aura.
Demeanor, yeah. I should have said calm demeanor because you do. It's like you can just listen to Dave talk, and it's like, oh, that's like, how could anyone get mad at you? Because your tone is so calm and relaxing.
I did have someone send me a message and they said, yeah, I've been listening to all your podcasts and it just helps me sleep at night. So
see,
so I'm that
boring.
boring.
Something. No,
I'm that boring.
No, you're not boring. It's literally your voice. You just
that's funny.
You're very relaxing to talk to.
Good. I'm glad.
Are you ingesting CBD as well?
No, I just take a dropper. It's an oil. I take a dropper of it each night.
Okay.
I may increase the dosage. The lady that sent it to me from Washington's a real, she's like a doctor at this stuff. And so she's got me she's wanting me to build up my, my tolerance for it so I can take more of it. I took a dose in the morning and the evening in the first couple of days and I was groggy all day. So I didn't want it to.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't want it to. I mean, it's strong.
Okay.
It's strong. You can taste it when you take it. Here we are talking about drugs like it's legal.
Well, yeah, it's CBD's legal. So
yeah, it is. So we'll call it that.
Do you ever find yourself? Sorry, to be clear, these questions came in from some of my Christian friends.
Okay.
So, do you ever find yourself questioning your stance since this happened?
Yeah, I was going to go ahead and use your show to make an announcement that I've reconverted to Christianity. No, that somebody will pull that clip out and say, "I knew it."
People would hate me if you came out as Christian on my show.
I know. Somebody might quote mine that at the end of my life. They'll quote mine that and say, "See, I've got a clip of Dave saying he reconverted because he got a disease." No, I haven't. I never gave it a thought when I got this disease. I just never thought, oh my God, what if I was wrong about my decision on Christianity? What if can I negotiate with God? Hey, God, I was just kidding about that atheism thing. Let's talk. But no, it never occurred to me. Because when I let go of Christianity 10 years ago, there was no looking back for me. It was not like I'm thinking, oh, which way? I'm not sure. What is it? It was because I'd spent a year and a half really investigating and analyzing, and it was that clear to me that nope, this is not true. It's all false. I believed a lie all these years, and I'm done.
That brings me to actually two questions. To the Christians watching right now, if you had to say like one thing to them, what do you think it would be? Well,
obviously, I want to be clear anytime I talk about Christianity to make sure that I'm mentioning the water I swam in was evangelical Christianity, which I believe is its own brand, set apart from what I call the mainline denominations like Episcopal, Methodist, who are more open-minded and progressive. So I want to be clear that I'm speaking to that particular segment because that particular segment is the one that I believe does the damage. It hurts people. It tries to control people's lives. It's that element that's trying to make America a Christian nation, and it's that kind that's has roots of racism and is not LGBTQ friendly and all those things that I believe to be problematic. But I would say to Christians, just open your mind. There's no way, in my opinion, there's no way that we come into Christianity with an open mind. We come in because we were indoctrinated. No one sits down and I have not yet met someone that sits down and says, let me look at all the religions of the world and analyze them side by side and then decide which one's best, which one most fits, which one I like the best. No one does that. We're brought into it from some kind of an indoctrination, usually at a young age, or if it's later in life, it's usually at a point when we're impressionable and vulnerable. So to Christians listening, open your mind, be curious, ask questions. Don't assume that something's true and right because someone told you it, even me or even Ethan. Open your mind and figure it out for yourself.
See, to me, I could make a simple analogy, which I could totally butcher, but it would be like if right now I've never had any pizza before and I try one pizza place,
Yeah.
and then I say I don't need to try any other pizza places, this is the best pizza place ever. Like,
and all the other pizza places are shit. They're
right.
wrong.
Like, yeah, they're wrong. They've got the ingredients wrong. It's like, wait, did you even look?
And we need to go around to those pizza places and show them how to do it.
Right. not taste it, not see what it's about. Tell them what they're doing wrong.
No, that's an excellent analogy, actually.
Wow. Once in a while, this thing works.
Yeah.
So here's kind of an odd question, which will probably require some unpacking. Do you ever hope you're wrong about being an atheist?
Well, I don't. That question is loaded because it for someone to hope that they're wrong about what you believe is to think that there's a better option out there. And I certainly don't believe Christianity is a better option than anything because it just doesn't answer the questions, and it leaves too much out there that you have to just plug in gaps on, and you have to apply. Well, it's called faith for a reason. It's not about reason and logic and knowledge and science. It's about believing something for which there's not credible evidence, and so you have to make a leap of faith. And I don't find that very attractive. So no, I don't hope I'm wrong about atheism, especially if I'm comparing it to the Christianity from which I came, because that Christianity is hideous and appalling, and the God of the Bible is a horrible character, as my friend Dan Barker says, the most hideous, the most horrible character in all of fiction. And if it were to be proven to me today that the God of the Bible is true and real and the only true God, I still wouldn't worship him, because he's not a moral entity based upon Scripture. If we're gonna define him by the book that's supposedly about him, then I want nothing to do with him.
I would agree, and I think often people forget that. Like, hey, what if I showed you for evidence? Would you give up your atheism? Like, yeah, sure. If you show me evidence for God, I'll give it up on the spot.
Yeah, I'll acknowledge that your God is God, but I'm not going to worship him. I'll have nothing to do with him.
No, I genuinely, I've never understood worship. Like, it's just, I was fortunate, like, even though when I was a Christian, where it just didn't make sense to me. Like, people would all be like praying and singing, and I'd be sitting there like, I just don't get this. I don't get it.
I know. And we were taught, Ethan, that God demanded worship, that God needed our worship. In fact, that's the whole premise behind the nonsense of free will, that the reason there's evil in the world is because man fell, and the reason man fell is because God had to create them with free will. Who says? God is Milton fucking Bradley. He can make the game any way that he wants.
God is Milton. Can we make that a shirt? God is Milton Bradley.
Well, think about it. He's creating the game of life, of mankind, and he's got the ability to do it any way he wants.
Right.
And yet he chooses to do it in a way that's going to cause, because of free will, that's going to cause centuries of evil and suffering and pain and death, all so that he can have a remnant become worshipers of him. He's that needy of worship. He's that much of an egomaniac that he's willing for people to suffer and die and spend eternity in hell, and children to be born with bone cancer, and children to die at young ages because they don't have enough water in the land they were born in. But God gets to have worshipers who bow down to him day and night forever. And that's what he wants. That's sick shit, man.
It is. It really is. And that's, I don't like, why would anyone want to worship anyone, for one? Or why would somebody demand to be worshipped? Like,
that's the thing.
So confusing to me. Like, how does something so powerful need to feel like important? Like, that should be emotion beyond said God, wouldn't you think?
And that should cause us to give pause. We should stop. And when I was a Christian, I didn't. I assumed that it was right because I was told it was right. And the thinking was, well, God knows that when we worship him, we get our own needs met, and it's not because he needs it, it's because we need it. We need to be worshipers. That's just so crazy. That's so weird when you back up and look at it.
It really is. A lot of times I've seen people try and reference when people get to the end of their life, if they convert, like this atheist converted, that makes Christianity true. How do you foresee that happening with you?
What do you think?
In talking to you, I don't foresee that that's possible at all.
No, I don't either. No, I doubt that I'm going to get to the end and kind of panic and tap out. I'm just only interested in what's true and right, and I'm not interested in trying to tag into some kind of thing that might make me feel better or give me some hope for whatever's next. I'm okay with not knowing what's next. I'm okay with death being the final frontier. And it doesn't, I don't need something beyond that. And I find it a little pathetic that Christians do, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it, but it's so hard to put your mind back after you've come this far.
Yeah, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. It's just, I've seen too much. I know too much. And if I can't imagine a scenario where my eyes would open to see some God in a different way that I haven't thought of or looked at all these years. I certainly can't see anyone convincing me of the Christian God's reality. I just know too much about that narrative.
Right.
I know it inside and out.
Is there something that gives you, a lot of times people like to refer to their strength or what keeps them going. What keeps Dave Warnock going every day? What keeps you getting up and being active and doing this?
Well, honestly, it's the ability to do these kind of things. It's the ability to enjoy some days and moments with my girlfriend, with people my friends, people that I love. There are so many reasons to get up and go forward every day. Right. And it's doing the kind of stuff that I've been able to do with Dying Out Loud has really infused me with energy and a desire to connect with people as much as I can, as long as I can, because all the feedback I started getting really was letting me know that it makes a difference for folks. And that to me is enough of a reason to get up and go forward.
Well, it really does, Dave, because I personally, I have nothing to complain about, and I try and be as optimistic as possible. And seeing what you're going through and seeing how you're handling it is it should be a reality check for most people. There is so much less shit in the world we should worry about. Mm-hmm. We should be more happy with everything we have. And you exemplify that really well.
Well, that's how the thing WWD got started. That's a cool story your listeners might like if they haven't heard it, because it was, again, everything that we've done has just been organic. We didn't sit down and plan a marketing strategy and, just what do we want to do? We just kind of let it just kind of happened. And that's the best way. But our group in Nashville that meets, we have an ex-Christian atheist group. And it's a pretty big group of people. And we have meetings every month. We did before COVID, but we were meeting a couple weeks after the diagnosis, and everybody was just kind of checking in on how they were feeling, and everybody was sharing their reactions to it. And one of the women who does artwork, she just mentioned that she was anxious about something and frustrated, like you said, all the little things in life that we worry about that we don't need to. And she was realizing that she was getting caught up in stuff that was trivial. And she said, I paused and thought, I don't know. I don't think Dave would be upset about this. He's got such bigger issues to deal with. And someone in the room said, yeah, what would Dave do? And then someone else said, yeah, WWDD. So we started making these bracelets and put them on the website and said you can get a WWDD bracelet. And what it is a little reminder on your wrist for you to focus on the things that matter. Don't get caught up in the shit that doesn't.
Right.
Grab the moments in life, carpe the fucking diem, and live your best life. It's just a little like a reminder of what's important and what's not. And people started ordering them, and it's so fun when I get a picture from someone. I got a few weeks after that, right after we started putting them out there, a guy in Paris, France, sent me a picture of him wearing one and says, WWDD in Paris. And so it's just cool. And that's the kind of stuff that we started seeing happening as we started doing more and more of this last year. And that's, like you said, what gets me up and keeps me going. It's a lot of that.
That's awesome. Okay, so I think if anyone has questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I think I asked all the more important ones, but I would like to get to know you. So what do you like to do for fun?
Well, that's changing because some of the things I used to do hobby-wise and recreationally wise, I can't do anymore because my hands don't work like they should. So I used to go out this time of year and play golf. Did that with friends that I had back in Nashville. I used to do that a lot with my son. That's not ever going to happen again for me unless God heals me. I used to play guitar and sing and write music, and I can't play guitar anymore. So I've had this shift. The things that I find, the things that I do, one thing I've always enjoyed is traveling, seeing new places. I can still do that. So even with COVID, we booked some trips to some places just to sightsee, because you can do social distancing and still get out. Especially, we're going out west to see the Grand Canyon and some places in other places like that. All the stuff that got canceled that we were going to be doing, like traveling to Europe and stuff. We're going to do a Europe trip, but we're just going to do it from, just for some sightseeing and recreational. So those are things. Other than that, simple things like just sitting with people, having conversations, laughing, having a drink. I do enjoy my cigars, although a lot of people are telling me I got to quit smoking cigars. What, is it going to kill me?
Okay, fair point. No, you should have had a cigar on the show. Oh, wait, no, never mind. That'd probably get me in trouble.
Well, I can't inside. I could have sat out on the patio and done it. Yeah.
I did forget to ask you this question from an atheist.
Yeah.
Have you ever prayed just in case? I'm quoting this person. I'm completely serious, and it comes from a fellow atheist with no judgment. I've had my moments, and I've never had to deal with anything as serious as this.
No, I think it goes back to the answer to the question about hoping I'm wrong about something. I won't say I know that Christianity is not true, that God's not there. I just don't see the evidence for it. And for me to offer up a prayer to something that I think might be out there, it just seems a bit disingenuous to me. And I couldn't find myself doing that with any kind of honesty and integrity. I just don't see the point of it. Now, I will say Jesus Christ every now and then, but it's not a prayer.
I've had someone say to me that whenever I say that, that means I believe in Jesus.
Oh, do they? Okay.
So I started, whenever I text it, I started spelling it Geezus. So they can't reference Jesus anymore.
Even if you say Jesus fucking Christ, they still think you're.
Surprisingly, I guess yes, I do.
Oh well,
that's God showing through me. If I'm quoting my friend correctly.
Hey, I see Kristen in the comments. Hey, girl, best name ever.
Yeah,
Love her.
we all do. But
yeah,
and as much as I want to spend the next 10 minutes talking about her, she doesn't like the attention.
I know.
I'm just gonna say you're awesome, and I'll leave it at that.
She's. Let's talk about her a while. Let's just really get her cranked up. Yeah, no, she loves her privacy, but she's awesome.
Yeah, she is. She's definitely one of the superheroes of the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, how do you think we can communicate better with Christians? Because it would seem that there is just a lot of like back and forth of you're wrong, no, you're wrong. How can we build a better bridge?
Well, I like the way that Anthony Magnabosco does it with street epistemology. You know, ask questions. Yep. Don't come at someone with telling them, like you said, once you tell someone they're wrong, the defenses go up and the conversation's over.
Yep.
So there's really no communication that happens after that. But if you can just ask the questions, why do you believe what you believe? Tell me what, like I was talking to my girlfriend Bevan, and she was telling me her sister, you know, is a Trumper, and she says, I don't understand why, because she's a smart person. And I said, well, ask her, tell me 3 things about him that you like and that you think make him a good president and someone you should follow. So you could do that with Christianity, or, you know, and if they did that with atheism, I'd be happy to tell them how to, you know, how did you come to your conclusions? Okay, here's how. I thought this through and I thought that through. And if Christians can tell you, well, I thought this through and I thought that through, oftentimes they just can't. And they're usually hearkening back to that book, the Bible, which Trump loves more than any book, because he held it up awkwardly for us all to see how much he loves it.
Isn't it true that church that he was out in front of, like, I don't want to say denounced him, but I believe they said they don't stand behind him in any way?
Oh, the bishop eviscerated him on Twitter. And
yeah.
Because he cleared out people with tear gas and rubber bullets and stuff to have that photo op, and did not contact the church. He did nothing. He just wanted a photo op. Right. So they were very angry. Anyway, that idea of what were we talking about before that? We got off on Trump. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do that.
I know, because it was going to make me ask you a question about Trump, and I'm like, just zip it, don't do it.
I do that every time, and I know better. It's
hard not to, though, isn't it?
I know. It really is.
What would you say to an atheist Trump supporter? I'm not one, for the record.
Well, I've seen some. I've seen some on my own page. I think I don't know what to say to them, honestly. I don't know how you can be open-minded and still support Trump. I don't know how you can be a skeptical person, or a person that values reason and science and then support Trump, who values none of that stuff, who values almost nothing. So I don't know how you can meld those two together. I know some do, and I don't judge them. I just have a hard time understanding it.
Yeah, I feel the same. What would you like other people out there with, you know, who are in the same position as you to know?
With terminal illnesses?
Correct.
Well, everybody's got to walk their own path. I've met quite a few, actually, in the ALS community. You kind of get drafted into a club that you didn't think you were going to be in, but everybody's got their own path to walk, and I don't impose my ideas on anyone else.
Right.
I just tell them how I'm doing it, and just say that I have met people with terminal illnesses and not, that have a hard time looking for the value, and what's the value in life? What's the point? As one guy at a meeting asked me, we live a few years, then we die. What's the point? Well, the point is the time between those two moments.
Yes. And
the moments between those two moments, the moments that we do have to enjoy and to live and to make the most of, and to make the world a better place for someone around us. That's all that's what we can do. And that any of us can do that, whether you have a terminal illness or not. The terminal illness only puts things in a little bit more focus in terms of time that you may have. We've all got a clock ticking. We know that. We've all got an end date on our life.
Yes.
But with us, someone like me, that clock is sitting out on the desk looking at me every day. That's the only difference.
Sorry, I'm a little speechless right now.
That's okay. I'm just looking at some of the questions.
So I completely lost my train of thought.
That's okay. We were talking about how to communicate with Christians.
Yeah.
Before we got sidetracked on Trump. And again, I think it just goes back to being respectful and asking questions. I think the best thing we can do is just ask questions and let people come to their own conclusions and not try to force someone into a position that they're not ready to take.
Right. Do you have any? Are you doing any videos regularly, or are you creating any YouTube content?
No, and I'm really aggravated at myself for that. I need Bestname Ever to really prompt me on that every day, girl. Just send me a message. Dave, make a video.
I just that too. I will happily do that.
I'm trying to work on my book. I'm trying to do a lot of things, and I've got the time to do it. I'm just not disciplining myself to do it. And so it's on my list of things to get more regular about, because I have had people asking me for more content, and so I just need to do it and not put it off anymore. So I haven't been, but I'm going to.
So remind everyone again, where can they check you out at? Your site, everything.
Yeah, the best, easiest thing to remember is the website is daveoutloud.com, and the Facebook page is Dave Warnock Dying Out Loud. If you're not following me on that, please do that. And the YouTube channel is just my name. I think it's Dying Out Loud. All the links, the best place to go is just daveoutloud.com, and all the links to everything is, someone just put it in the notes. The links are all there. And then you can follow me on Twitter. I don't tweet a lot, but I don't do a lot of things a lot. I need to do more things. I need to be more regular, more consistent.
Social media can be hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
I have a Mike buddy who assists me, Puck, and he is always like, you need to be on Discord, you need to be on Twitter, you need to be doing this. And I'm just like, this is a lot, man. Like,
it is. And Marie helps me a lot with that. So everything, we really had a good rhythm going, a good schedule. We were booking meetings everywhere, and the calendar was almost full. And I don't know, it's just sometimes when you get in this place that we're in now, this COVID fog-like state that we're all in, it just kind of causes you to, you don't even know what day it is half the time. And it's just kind of like this weird zone that I'm in where I'm not in a rhythm like I was before. And it's hard to get that back. I don't know why, but it is.
No, it really is. But when you break that rhythm, it's just like until you just force yourself to do it day in and day out, it falls away.
Yeah. And the world is kind of falling apart around us, and you're just kind of going, bah.
Oh, shit.
I know.
So this is the odd question I do like to ask everyone who comes on. Have you ever sang karaoke, or would you?
Funny story. I actually I've done not a lot of karaoke, but when I do it, I crush it. So I can sing okay, and so when I do karaoke, it's usually a pretty good. But the thing is, a few months ago, I was on vacation with some friends, and Bevan was there, and we were out at a karaoke club, and I thought, yeah, I'll do a karaoke song. And so I got up, and I got the song and I started, holding the mic, but my arms get tired and I can't hold things. And I'd forgotten about that. And so I'm up there, I'm holding, and as the song went on, my arms and I kept going down and down and down. I finished it, but by that time I was probably on the floor.
And what song was it?
Oh God, what was it? It was a tough song. I picked a really tough one. I didn't think it through. God, I can't remember. It'll come to me in a minute. But yeah, I did a Bob Dylan song before that. Three Dog Night. I do some of those. Stairway to Heaven. No, Kristen.
Cynthia wants to know if you'll bust a tune real quick.
Bust a tune real quick. What, Stairway to Heaven? No, my voice is so hoarse and froggy. I can't sing right now. Especially I can't sing Robert Plant.
All right. I do have, it looks like one last question is going to be from Lane. Has the thought crossed your mind that your parents are wherever you're going, assuming they have already passed, and it may all be a mute thought without a belief in an afterlife? Just curious if your mind goes to those who have passed on before.
No, honestly, I mean, I've lost friends and family who are supposedly waiting for me in heaven. I find the whole idea of an afterlife very problematic on many levels, but I don't think the thought that we need more is what bothers me. That this life that we get, first of all, we're lucky that we got born to begin with. That that sperm got there, and I'm the result of that. I mean, we're lucky, and most of us, I can't say all, are lucky we were born in a place that gave us somewhat of an advantage. We could have been born in an African country or somewhere that just life is a struggle from day one. But a lot of us, myself, born into a lower middle class family with, never had to wonder if I was going to have enough to eat or a place to live. But I know so we got to start there. I'm lucky that happened the way it did. And then secondly, if I've lived 64 years, and that's not old by any means, but it's a good long life. And if it ended next week, I had a good run. And so most of us do live to be, the 70, 80, whatever. And most of us do live what we'd call a quality life. So my question when people say, aren't you bothered that there's no afterlife, is why in the hell is this life not enough?
Right. Like
what's wrong? I don't get it. Why are we thinking that there needs to be more?
I don't know. And see, to me, having an outlook similar to yours and mine can be very easy. It becomes difficult in the face of adversity, which again, it is awesome. But how do we get people thinking like this, man? Seriously, like what? To me, it's a simple concept. Like love your neighbor, help each other, work together. Like how do we get people to see that? Because that is, I would say, my most frustrating part.
Yeah, I get you. So it's just all about an attitude, and I don't know that. We can't transfer an attitude to someone else. All we can do is share my own story and see, if that resonates with you in any way. I'm not trying to impose any ideas on someone else. I'm just saying what works for me. Oh, I see a comment there that I want to respond to. African country, okay. Yeah, that's probably not the right way for me to say that. What I meant was a third world impoverished country, whether it's Africa or Haiti or any country where many people are born without the privileges that many of us enjoy. So I want to go ahead and rephrase that. And then the question of how does he know there's no afterlife? I don't. I've never said I do. I'm saying I don't see evidence for it, and I don't feel a need for it.
Right. I agree. I mean, and honestly, like, to me, if there are people in heaven, right? If there's a heaven and there are people in heaven, if one of my friends doesn't go to heaven and goes in hell, I don't want to be there, man. Like,
Exactly.
who would want to abandon their friends and family? Like,
Or one of your kids, or
how could you just be in heaven like, oh, I'm happy? Yep. There.
well,
Like,
the mindset was that what we all believed, well, although we never talked about it a lot, was that somehow God would just magically erase that person from our memory, or we won't be aware of that person not being there, because that would be torturous. If you, I'm in heaven, but my kids didn't make it, they're going to burn in hell. Oh, well, let's go praise God. How does that work?
Well, right, but do they think about it all the time? Because again, to me, this is a simple concept. Do they not think that far ahead?
You don't. There's a lot that's just hand waved away by saying, well, God will work all that out. God's the God of all our questions and all the mystery, and he'll figure all that out. So he's going to just make it so that we don't think about those people, or he'll there's no rationality to it. It's all a big bunch of hocus pocus, and God's going to just do everything. And it just doesn't make sense to me.
Right. No, I would agree. What else that we haven't covered, or is there anything else that you would like people to know?
Yeah, I do always like to mention the group I work with called Final Exit Network. There's a link to their website on my website. And the reason I do talk about them is because of the way that in this country, and some other countries, but the idea of having to live until you die, if your death is going to be painful and drug out, and there's no cure, and you have a fatal illness, someone like me, the end of ALS is really ugly. Your muscles quit working, you're not able to do anything, and people have to do everything for you. Well, the Final Exit Network allows people like me options, so that when I get to a place where I'm no longer happy with the quality of my life, I can end it on my terms, in my way. And it gives me control, it gives me choice. And so anybody who wants to know more about that service, it's a nonprofit organization and run by volunteers to help someone like me with all the details that I'll need to know toward the end, if I want to use that and not have to suffer needlessly like so many people in this country do.
And I will say that is an area of religion where I get frustrated, because I feel like they're holding back progress. Like, who are you to dictate that someone has to stay alive when they're completely miserable? And like,
it's just wrong. It's immoral.
It is.
And they don't think it through. There's the mindset, well, you can't play God. God knows when their time is through. So God's the one that wants you to suffer another couple of years and hang on long. And then finally, when he thinks you've suffered enough, then he'll pull the plug, right? No, that's not right.
No.
No, that's the idea that you can't play God doesn't bear out either, because people who say that are the same ones, if they get cancer, they'll go get chemo. If that's what the doctor says, they're not going to say, hey, doc, you can't play God. He gave me this cancer. Let's see how this plays out.
Oh, that's true.
They don't do that.
No. I do have a follow-up question from Samantha Brooke. Oh,
okay.
Whoops. Let me. How does an atheist make sense of apparitions, like, ghost, but physical ghosts that people see with the naked eye?
Well, I guess I've just not seen, again, I've not seen what I would call evidence that's strong enough to support the idea that they've seen a ghost. I mean, I guess there are TV shows with something that you can, but somebody show me some incontrovertible video, or take me to where the ghosts hang out and let's go see them. and then we'll talk. But I have not seen what I consider strong enough evidence for that. So, but even if I did, I would just simply have to say, I don't know. It still doesn't make me believe that there's a supernatural world out there with angels and demons in it.
No.
So, yeah.
No, I found that when I was Christian leaning, everything was a sign. And I had ghost sightings. I had things I couldn't make out.
Right.
As I, started with an atheist and then focusing on skepticism, I looked back and I'm like, none of these really hold up at all. And if they did, even if I saw something, so what? I saw something.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean anything. It just
well, we've learned enough about the mind that we know we can think we see things or think we know things that we really don't.
Right.
So sometimes it's the mind. I mean, think about what happens in your dream world. I mean, your mind is doing stuff that you have no control over and you're not aware of, but you think, oh yeah, I really am flying. No, you're not. You're dreaming. And so it doesn't make it real because you dreamed it or because you thought it or because you thought you saw it.
Right. I have no more questions. Did we cover everything, or is there anything else we left out that you need to cover?
No.
Like singing that song.
What song?
Any song.
Let's see. I'm trying to think what it was. Oh God, I can't think of it. I can't. I'm just a total blank. Yeah, I don't think everybody wants me to sing that.
All right. Well, Dave, don't disconnect, but thank you for doing this. It was
Cool.
definitely a pleasure meeting you. I do have all of Dave's links in the description, daveoutloud.com. Also, please check out his Patreon, which I need to add to the description. And please buy What Would Dave Do shirt.
Get some merch. There's some great designs. Oh, I remember the song. It was I just forgot.
Oh, come on.
Oh, okay. Keep talking a minute, then I'm gonna bust out into it.
So I need to get one of those What Would Dave Do shirts.
Mm-hmm.
I should have had that so I could have done this.
Yes, you should. And there's some other designs on there. There's a link on the Facebook page, and it'll take you to you can order just one shirt, two shirts, sweatshirts. You can get coasters with things on there. You can get a shower curtain with my face on it, that sort of thing. So anything you want, it's all on there. And it does help support what we're doing, especially when we're traveling again. It helps cover travel costs that some of the groups that bring us in can't do it, can't cover all the costs. So we fill in where we can.
So right now, go to daveoutloud.com, buy a shirt. It makes a difference. Support his Patreon. Do everything you can to support this man, please. Awesome. That's all I have. Stay on the line for a minute, unless you have that song, or we pass.
Oh, I just thought of it and then I lost it. Whenever I try to think of it, it's like I can't do it.
Oh, that's
so okay. I guess we'll have to leave the audience. Always leave them wanting more.
That's true. We'll save that one for next time.
Okay.
Thank you to my patrons, Cindy PLAZA, Trina, Deluca, and special thanks again to Dave. Go to daveoutloud.com and buy some merch right now. Good night, everyone.